You touched your toothbrush this morning without thinking twice. Ancient humans had no toothbrush, no toothpaste, no dentist to call when something went wrong. So how did teeth survive 300,000 years without any of it? The answer involves chewing sticks, charcoal, and a level of oral care more advanced than most people assume. Let's start with the biggest myth, that ancient humans just had terrible teeth and lived with it. The evidence tells a different story. Archaeologists studying ancient skeletal remains have found something surprising. Dental disease existed, but it wasn't universal and it wasn't random. It tracked closely with diet and with whether a population had access to specific tools most people today have never heard of. The oldest evidence of intentional dental care comes from something remarkably simple, the chew stick. Archaeologists have found twigs with frayed, brush-like ends at sites dating back tens of thousands of years. Twigs deliberately chewed until the fibers separated into something resembling bristles. Certain trees were specifically favored for this. Some contain natural antibacterial compounds, meaning ancient people weren't just scrubbing their teeth mechanically. They were, without knowing the chemistry, applying a mild antimicrobial treatment every single time. This wasn't a rare or isolated practice. Chew sticks appear independently across Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, used for thousands of years before toothbrushes existed in any recognizable form. In fact, in parts of the world, chew sticks remain the dominant method of dental care well into the modern era, and some communities still use them today, not out of necessity, but because they genuinely work. Here's where it gets interesting. Ancient Egyptians took this even further. Archaeologists have found evidence of a paste-like tooth powder in ancient Egypt, made from ingredients including crushed rock salt, mint, dried iris flowers, and pepper. Applied with a frayed stick or a small brush-like tool, this powder functioned remarkably similarly to modern toothpaste. Abrasive enough to clean the tooth surface, aromatic enough to freshen breath. This formula dates back roughly 4,000 years, discovered in ancient medical texts alongside other treatments for the mouth and gums. This means the idea of toothpaste isn't a modern invention at all. It's a rediscovery of something ancient civilizations had already figured out, then largely lost, then reinvented centuries later. Ancient Rome took dental hygiene in a direction that sounds almost unbelievable: urine. Roman writers documented the use of urine, both human and specifically imported from certain regions considered higher quality, as a mouth rinse and teeth whitener. This sounds absurd until you understand the chemistry. Urine contains ammonia, which has genuine cleaning and whitening properties, similar to compounds still used in some cleaning products today. Wealthy Romans reportedly imported urine from Portugal specifically for this purpose, believing it produced superior results. It wasn't an accident or a joke. It was, by the standards of available chemistry at the time, an evidence-based cosmetic practice, however strange it sounds now. Ancient India developed one of the most sophisticated documented approaches to oral hygiene in the ancient world. Ayurvedic medical texts, some over 2,000 years old, describe detailed dental care routines, including chewing specific twigs, most commonly from the neem tree, tongue scraping using thin metal or wooden tools, and oil pulling, swishing oil in the mouth for extended periods to reduce bacteria. Neem, in particular, contains compounds with genuine antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, validated by modern research centuries after ancient practitioners first started using it daily. This wasn't casual folk practice. It was a structured medical system with specific techniques, specific materials, and specific reasoning behind each step, refined and passed down through generations of practitioners. Ancient China developed its own independent approach, and evidence suggests something resembling an actual toothbrush existed far earlier than most people assume. Historical records describe bristle toothbrushes made from hog hair, attached to bone or bamboo handles, dating back roughly 1,000 years. This is often cited as one of the earliest devices resembling a modern toothbrush anywhere in the world. Chinese medical texts from even earlier periods also describe herbal tooth powders and rinses, developed independently from similar practices happening thousands of miles away in Egypt and India. The pattern here matters. Across completely disconnected civilizations with no contact or shared knowledge, humans kept arriving at strikingly similar solutions: abrasive powders, antibacterial plants, some form of brush or stick. This wasn't coincidence. It was convergent problem solving, different populations independently discovering reassuring that the same basic principles worked, because the biology of tooth decay doesn't change based on geography. Diet played an enormous role in all of this, arguably a bigger role than any tool. Anthropologists studying ancient dental remains have found a consistent pattern. Hunter-gatherer populations, eating diets low in processed sugar and high in fibrous raw foods, generally show significantly less tooth decay than populations that shifted toward early agriculture. This seems counterintuitive at first. Fewer tools, more decay protection. The explanation comes down to what people were actually eating. Tough, fibrous, raw plant foods require extensive chewing, which naturally scrapes plaque from tooth surfaces and stimulates saliva production. Saliva being one of the most effective natural defenses against tooth decay. Early farming populations, by contrast, shifted towards softer, starchier, more processed grains, foods that stick to teeth and ferment into acid far more readily. Some of the worst dental health in the archaeological record actually appears after agriculture, not before it, a finding that surprises most people who assume ancient life meant worse teeth across the board. This connects to something researchers call the agricultural dental decline, a documented pattern where average tooth health measurably worsens as populations transition from foraging to farming. It's one of several pieces of evidence suggesting the shift to agriculture, often assumed to be pure progress, came with real physical costs that took thousands of years to fully understand. Tongue scraping deserves its own mention here, because it appears far more frequently across ancient cultures than most people realize. Ancient Indian, Chinese, Greek, and Roman texts all separately describe tools specifically designed to scrape the tongue, made from metal, wood, or bone, used to remove bacteria buildup responsible for bad breath. Modern dentistry has only relatively recently re-emphasized tongue scraping as genuinely beneficial, meaning yet another ancient practice, dismissed for a long time as primitive, turns out to have solid reasoning behind it. Not every ancient dental practice holds up under modern scrutiny, though. Some cultures used genuinely harsh abrasives, crushed shells, ground pumice, even sand in some documented cases, applied so aggressively that archaeologists can identify measurable tooth wear directly linked to over-vigorous cleaning. Ancient dental care wasn't perfect. It was trial and error, refined slowly, sometimes at the literal cost of tooth enamel. And when prevention failed, ancient dentistry existed too, however frightening it sounds today. Archaeological evidence from multiple ancient cultures shows evidence of dental drilling, tooth extraction, and even primitive fillings using materials like beeswax, some dating back over 9,000 years. A skeleton discovered in Slovenia showed a cavity filled with beeswax, believed to have been done to reduce pain and pressure in a cracked tooth, roughly 6,500 years ago. This means dentistry, in some crude but genuine form, is nearly as old as agriculture itself. So how did ancient humans manage dental hygiene without toothbrushes, with frayed sticks doubling as bristles, with powders made from salt, mint, and crushed flowers, with neem twigs and oil pulling refined into structured medical systems, with tongue scrapers thousands of years before modern dentists rediscovered the idea, and with diets that, ironically, may have protected teeth better than much of what people eat today. There was no toothbrush aisle. There didn't need to be. Ancient humans built entire systems of oral care from whatever their environment provided, proving that good dental hygiene was never about the tool. It was always about understanding the problem and refining the solution, one generation at a time.